Hey, how's it going, everybody? As promised, we're doing the full Q&A with Baba-sensei and Kiryu-sensei. I'm Mark, the Yen Press marketing guy, and I'm joined by Ivan, the editor of So I'm a Spider, So What, and Jenny, the
Hello.
translator of So I'm a Spider, So What. And without further ado, let's get started on the Q&A. So the first question was one that's asked by a lot of fans, too many to count. So we're just going to say several fans. And the question is, why a spider?
So Baba-sensei responds, I get this question a lot, but the truth is there isn't much of a reason. A spider just happened to appear in a dream I had the day I started writing the story.
A recurring theme that's going to go through this Q&A is Baba Sensei is just a natural genius of a lot of the skills and ideas of so I'm that went into the creation of oh I'm a spider, so it just kind of came in naturally, like by divine intervention. So next question. I love the series so much. My only question is, was having the protagonist be a spider your first choice, or was there other animals you were thinking about having the main character be?
So for this one, Baba Sensei replied, as I mentioned in the previous question, I just thought, well, a spider appeared in my dream and also, I guess that'll work, and started writing. I was always planning on a non-human protagonist, but as far as what creature to choose, I decided pretty arbitrarily.
Starting to wonder what exactly happened in that dream.
That's actually a really good question. Like, was it just like seeing a spider, or was it something
Getting chased by
way,
spiders.
yeah.
Apparently, since Baba Sensei knew that they wanted to have a non-human protagonist, maybe the dream was as simple as a spider going up to Baba Sensei and saying, "I'm your protagonist."
Mhm.
It's my time.
Oh,
See,
right. Well, Baba-sensei's profile in the books does say that half of the plot of Spider comes from a dream oracle, although it then says in parentheses that that's a lie. But maybe there's a little bit of truth to it.
I'm going to assume there's a little bit of truth to it. Let's assume that there's a spider oracle that came in the dream, said, "I'm going to be the protagonist," and then fed some more of the ideas to make this wonderful light novel.
that's my head canon. I believe that now. Even if Baba Sensei says that's a lie.
Next question: was there any particular inspiration for making the series?
Baba-sensei responds, when I first encountered web novels, that was a major inspiration that had a huge effect on me. Until then, I always had a narrow view of novels as something that could only be published in book form, so I had no idea that there was such a thing as web novels, which you can write casually and post freely. So when I found web novels, I immediately decided to try writing a novel myself, as one does.
Next up, why did you choose to have the title in that tone and phrasing?
Oh, well, for Baba Sensei, the answer was when I first started writing, I came up with an outline for the story all the way to the end. And when I tried to come up with a title based on that, this was pretty much the only thing that came to mind.
I get where this question is coming from because, so I'm a spider, so what's a great name if it's just a spider parse? But when start to realize that this is actually a very, very deep fantasy world, a very, very intriguing story that's much more than what one expects. It's like, wow, this epic fantasy is simply called So I'm a Spider, So What?
I don't know how intentional it was, but the title does turn out to be really apt when, the main character being a spider like starts to matter like less and less as the story goes on. Well, not necessarily less, but it's like other things are going on now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, next up, could you give a high-level overview of how you went about designing the labyrinth? Did you start from the main character's perspective and design sections in the order she experienced them? Do you pick biomes such as lava zones and then decide what monsters would fit into those zones? Or do you pick the monsters first and then decide zones based on that?
So Baba-sensei says, I decided the areas and monsters in the Great Elroad Labyrinth more or less randomly. So sometimes I decided the area first and then came up with monsters, while other times I thought of the monsters first and made up the area accordingly.
I enjoy reading this series. How much do you like spiders?
So Baba Sensei's answer is my apologies to spider lovers all over the world, but as you may have already guessed by the fact that I chose a spider for this silly reason that one just so happened to appear in my dream, the truth is I'm not particularly into spiders or anything.
The funny thing about this is a lot of us have become spider fans because of this
Mhm.
light novel. Yet the creator is not is not a fan of spiders per
Just,
se.
just
The biggest twist of all.
lukewarm.
Next up, oh, very good question here. My spider on the wall isn't cute like yours. What did I do wrong?
Baba-sensei responds, how would you like a frog then? A centipede or a snail would be good too.
Perhaps a frog on the wall would be an improvement, but I think any spider is much cuter than a centipede on the wall.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. No, centipede.
so yes, keep the spider on the wall. Big
Mhm.
improvement from the centipede. Next up. Oh man, I'm just reading the series now. I want to know where they get their dragon names from because they're fun.
Baba-sensei's answer for this is I choose all the names of monsters and characters, not just dragons, based on whatever sounds good to me, which we mentioned during the panel, but is a huge relief.
Mhm. And also explains a lot.
Yes, it does explain a lot, but it does make us feel way better about our like spelling choices for pretty much all the names.
Yeah, after hours of Googling these
Oh,
random like katakana, like
so much
some
research.
word that I'm missing.
I guess related to that, did you two realize at a certain point that Baba Sensei was probably just making these names up?
I think it was mentioned in an afterword or something.
Yeah,
Because I
like
remember after like a volume or two of being like, maybe this is like based on this Spanish word or something, there was a
yes.
comment in the afterword that's like, I kind of just make up noises at random that sound nice. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, okay.
so yeah, the author revealed it pretty quickly, which is, which was really nice, but
Hmm.
for the first couple of volumes it was kind of like there could be some obscure like mythological text that we just cannot find, and all these names are just lined up very
Hmm.
neatly inside, but we don't know what it is.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because it's happened before, so
All right, next up, how hard is it to write about leveling up and stat increases?
Baba Sensei replies, well, it is difficult. In the beginning, the stat numbers were low and there weren't that many skills, so that was all well and good. But since then, they've grown into huge numbers as the story proceeds, so it's become hard to manage them.
it has.
Yeah, over here too.
That's I can only agree with this answer. I totally forgot to mention this at the panel, but we forgot to talk about what do you call it, the sight, the sight skill leveling up,
Yeah.
because it was originally, what was the original one? I think it was telescopic sight. So
Hmm.
telescopic sight was, so basically all the skills in spider level up, right? And as you go on, the progression always increases as it gets stronger and stronger and the skill evolves. So first there was telescopic sight, and then it became, what was it? Clairvoyance? Right, it became
Hmm.
clairvoyance, which is pretty much like you can see everything. So
Hmm.
when there was a new skill that topped that, we were like, okay, what do we do now? How do you get better than
What's better
seeing,
than, yeah.
literally seeing everything already? And then eventually we came up with panoptic sight, I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
But it took a while to get there, and it was not an easy, like, it seems obvious now because we already have it, but at the time, it was like, I have no idea how we're going to top clairvoyance.
All right, next up, related to the previous question, do you have a document of all the inner workings of the system? It is by far the most consistent and well put together game system for a light novel I've ever seen. I've been documenting everything on the English wiki and noticed
Oh.
how well structured and consistent it is throughout.
Baba Sensei says, unfortunately, no, I have no such documents. I'm not very good at keeping proper records of things that I need to remember, you see.
For those of you who have only learned about Baba Sensei from this Q&A, I think you've still learned enough about Baba Sensei to know that's the most Baba Sensei answer you could ever get.
It's
If you were reincarnated into your world, who would you want to be reincarnated as?
Baba-sensei's answer is, even if I was reborn, I don't think I could be anything more than I already am. No matter who or what I was born as, I don't think that would change. And thank you for reading the series.
Meanwhile, Kiryu Sensei, the illustrator for the light novel, says, if I was reborn as a monster, I'd want to be a snail, the Elro Gastrush, or a catfish, the Elro Guna7.
Mm.
As a snail, speaking of monster names that are just random strings of syllables.
Yes.
Anyway, as a snail, I can probably explore the caverns to my heart's content without worrying too much about enemies. And I like that the catfish can swim in lava without dying. I'd really like to try that once for myself. As for humans or demons, if there's a job that involves researching nature and monsters, I'd like to be reborn as that sort of person. It'd be fun to go around and visit places in the world of Spider that don't show up in the story, don't you think? Otherwise, I'd like to become a mage and research magic under Mr. Ronan. Both the magic itself and observing Mr. Ronan seem like fun.
You know what I love about Kiryu Sensei's answer? I get the vibe that Kiryu Sensei is a very big fan of the series that they
Yes.
It's actually consistent with the manga canon because I feel like there were a lot of afterwards, and Kiryu Sensei writes afterwards for the manga sometimes,
Right.
and is always talking about how much they love how the author of the manga draws the catfish. So like
That's
there's a
right.
running catfish fandom among the Spider creators.
That's
They are very cute, actually.
They are ridiculously cute.
So the next question is, how's the workflow between you two, Baba-sensei and Kiryu Sensei, at the time of making the character designs, and what's your opinion about the design so far? Also, greetings from Mexico. I've been reading your novel since the web novel days, and I love it.
So Baba-sensei's answer is I leave all the character designing to Kiryu-sensei. I actually try to avoid detailed description of characters' appearances and stuff since I prefer to leave those things to the reader's imagination. I do like to see how Kiryu-sensei imagines the characters too, so I hardly interfere with the design process. So each time I see a new character design, I have fun looking at them and thinking, so that's how this character looks in Kiryu-sensei's eyes.
And Kiryu Sensei also gave us a very detailed response.
Yes.
And Kiryu Sensei says, Hola. First, I read the manuscript I've been sent a few times to get a good idea of the character and the monster descriptions, as well as the overall flow of the story. Most monsters are fairly simple to draw. They usually have descriptions of the real-life creatures that they resemble, like a catfish or a snail or a wolf. See, there's a catfish again. As well as their habitats, actions, appearance, and so on. So I just put them on the pages they're described. As for humanoid characters, I usually design them like this. First, if there's a description in the story, obviously base it on that. For facial features, physique, hair, etc., I base it on their personalities. I'll try and dig in deep. For instance, a character who seems to exercise and eat a lot probably has a solid build, and so on. For clothing, accessories, etc., I base it on the character's personality, social status, homeland, organization, etc. I'll go off of certain keywords, such as nations and organizations that have a certain design concept in place. The most difficult character to design was Kumiko-chan, as a small, lesser pterodactyl, so the original Kumiko. At first, I went with the realistic route and made her cute but fairly expressionless, but I received feedback that being too realistic just made the design creepy. So I changed the direction to try and make it so that even people who are scared of spiders wouldn't be put off by the design. By the end, I think I proposed nearly 100 different variations. Also, Shun's initial design was a bit sharper, but the editorial department requested that I make him a little more average looking. That hadn't even occurred to me. It's fairly simple to try to make a design cooler, but it's difficult to make it less cool. Ultimately, I tried to emphasize his childishness and friendliness more.
From the illustrations that we got, I honestly thought Shun was pretty cool looking. So what did this original Shun look like?
I want to see Shun that was banned for being too hot.
Oh god, yeah.
This is too attractive, and you need to tone it down.
That's some solid editorial remarks from the licensors.
Yeah. Not to mention 100 different Kumikos.
Oh my god, yeah. Actually, that's really crazy. Like we do go through a lot of design passes, even when we're working on the book, and we generally don't make like a ton of design choices, like versus 100.
Yeah, I am like a casual artist in my spare time, and maybe this is why I'm not a professional artist, but you're lucky if I make like 3 passes at something before I'm like, all right, yeah. But I also don't have editors being like, this is too creepy. This is not creepy enough.
Not
Or
creepy.
this character's too hot. Cool it with the hotness.
This is one of them good
Nice.
problems.
All right, next one. We have a lot of questions within this question, so thank goodness that we have a visual here to to show the full set of questions that contributed to this answer. But just to read them off, when did you start writing it? Did you plan the story in advance? Some of these questions were answered earlier. If yes, then how long did it take to get your final draft ready for the web novel? How old were you when you started writing? Which is your favorite character in the story? Which character do you like the least in the story? Oh, bold question there, huh? Is any of the characters based on your own self? And may we know the titles of your favorite books?
Baba-sensei's answer is I first posted chapter 1 on May 27th of 2015, which is the very same day I started writing it. I planned out a general direction of the story in advance, but the truth is I actually came up with all those decisions on the same exact day that I started writing. And I was in my 20s at the time. And I suppose my favorite character is probably the protagonist. There aren't any characters that I hate, though. Since I wrote all of them myself, even the villains, I feel a degree of fondness for pretty much all of them. As for a character who's based on me, in a way, I think all of them are, to a certain extent at least. The characters are born from within the author, after all. I have so many favorite books that there's no way I can narrow it all down. And finally, thank you so much for your support. Because of the times we're in now, I'm more determined than ever to try and keep making stories that will help cheer everyone up. It's a cool answer.
Kiryu Sensei also answered a couple of the questions, specifically about favorite and least favorite character. So they said, I really love all of the characters, so it's hard to pick just one of them, but as far as monsters go, the catfish and snails are my favorite. The way Asahiro Kakashi Sensei and Grattenbird Sensei draw the snails is just too cute. Asahiro Kakashi is the artist of the manga version, and Grattenbird Sensei is the pen name of the artist of the spin-off manga, So I'm a Spider, So What, Diary of the Four Kumiko Sisters, which is a spin-off about like four of Kumiko's parallel minds just talking amongst themselves. It's adorable. Anyway, as for humanish characters, maybe White, Ariel, Mr. Oni, the master apprentice trio of Mr. Rodent and Julius and Oral, and the Puppet Spider Sisters. But I love everyone else I didn't mention in their own way too. I don't have a least favorite character, but I probably wouldn't really want to be around Potamus. When I send in illustrations, the name for his lair always ends up being Poe. If he lived nearby, I feel like he'd always be knocking out the power in the whole neighborhood with his experiments and stuff, and I'd lose my art files. So,
Oh, you got the artist in you feeling what it means to lose your art files.
both as an artist and like a translator, because I have,
So
had
many
some
files.
tragedies
Oh,
occur.
yeah. Everyone has one of those stories.
Which ruler skill would you have or be closest to having?
Baba-sensei answers, oh, definitely sloth, because if I could, I would love to just laze around all day. Which, fair. I would say the same. Yes. Super relatable.
The next two questions and answers are pretty funny, following up from the response that Baba-sensei would be sloth. Spider was a web novel series at first, and after the anime announcement, your works will be in 3 different forms of media. How do you feel to be able to come this far?
I feel like I've been running nonstop all the way here, so it honestly still doesn't feel entirely real. But as a result, I can focus on writing without worrying too much about all that, so I think it might actually be for the best.
How involved are you in the anime, and what are your current thoughts about it?
Baba-sensei's answer is, I supervise the series composition and the script, among other things. It's very thrilling right now in many different ways, which sounds like code for I'm dying from work. Please save me. That was a very diplomatic way to say that.
If you could do your own Isekai quartet, who would it be with?
Baba-sensei answers, if we're going to do something like that, I think it would be fun to try gathering the non-human characters from various series, which I'm trying to think of other series with non-human characters.
I mean, you've got slime, obviously.
Obviously. Oh, we also have a vending machine.
Yeah,
We
and
have
a sword, I think.
there's a sword out there. We have a giant wolf
Yeah.
that looks like a puppy, or at least like a huge Clifford puppy. What else do we have?
We have a behemoth that looks like a cat.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I mean, that's already enough for a
That's so
quartet.
true, actually.
So
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
that's like a
Right, yeah.
quintet already.
yeah. Next up, did you have any difficulties while writing? Examples being lack of time, a certain character or plot related thing, etc. And how do you try to deal with it?
Lack of time is always a problem, yes. It's always a battle against time and the page limit. In my case, I don't often get stuck on where to go next with the story, but I do frequently write too much and end up going over the page limit. When I do get stuck, my solution is to sleep. Get a good rest, and reset. But then I lose even more time, which is a problem in itself.
Do you have a specific ending in mind, or does it change as you write the story? What's your favorite video game? Did you draw inspiration from any particular video games or other novels when designing the system? Are there characters you would like to write a side story or spin-off about? The Puppet Sisters are cute. What gave you the idea to have them become more relevant characters in the light novel?
Baba-sensei's answer is yes. I did decide how the story will end before I began writing. However, the ending may differ between the web novel and the print version, which pretty much tracks. My favorite games are probably the Monster Hunter series. There are a lot of games that influence the design of the system, though, so I suppose you could say I pulled out elements from a number of different games and threw them all together. As far as for novels, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Influenced the systems as well. And I try to cram everything I want to write into the main story, so no spin-offs come to mind at the moment. But maybe I'll think of one if I'm ever unable to fit everything into the main story. And finally, because the puppet spiders were so cute.
They are so cute.
They are adorable.
I guess a good follow-up question would be what came first, the decision to make them cute, or were they cute and then you're like, I gotta keep them in here?
They were born cute. That's the only answer. It's the only answer I'll accept.
I just had a flashback to when she had to fight puppet spiders before they
That's
looked
right.
like little girls, and they were like horrifying.
That's right. They were super scary, which only made it even more hilarious when they became adorable.
Yeah, remind me, like the way that they became cute was she was just like, I wanna put makeup on them, right? wasn't it something to that effect on the journey?
Yeah, she's just bored and messing around with her
her powers,
weaving powers, and
yeah. She was like, I wonder if I could make them cute, and then she did it, and it was like, I'm pretty good. I did that. I made this happen.
All right, next up, a very important question. Who's better at dancing between White and Ariel?
If I had to pick one, I'd say Ariel. Why? Because White is such a homebody. Really want to see this dance-off chapter.
Yes, that would be awesome. Spin-off time.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go.
Speaking of spin-offs, we had a bit of a reveal with the answer to this next question. So the question is, which of the cover illustrations is your favorite?
So Baba-sensei's answer is I love all of the covers, but I guess I probably have the strongest emotional attachment to Volume 1.
And Kiryu-sensei says, I'm attached to every one of them, but if I had to choose, I would say my favorites are Volume 1, Volume 5, where I finally got to let Kumiko-chan eat some tasty food,
yes,
and the cover of So I'm a Spider, So What EX, which is scheduled to come out in Japan this winter. When I worked on Volume 1 in particular, I remember being very nervous because I never expected to draw a light novel cover without any humans on it, but I was also excited at the new challenge.
Right after we talk about spin-offs, it immediately comes out.
Basically like an accidental reveal.
From Kiryu-sensei. Actually, I don't know if I assume Kiryu-sensei was given permission to say this, but yeah. I wanna imagine it was just like Kiryu-sensei breaking the cover story.
Yeah, because there was a note from the editorial staff afterward that's basically like, well, as you just heard.
I guess the cat is out of the spider is out of the bag now.
But I feel like they could have just edited it out and been like, no, if they really didn't want to tell us.
So Spider fans, yeah, you got a real treat from the panel and a real treat from this Q&A. And last but not least, so this question that we got from a fan is, I'm a translator for So I'm a Spider, and it's one of the most fun series I work on. Thank you for all your hard work. Sorry for the silly question, but is there any hope of a Yuri romance developing in the future? Maybe for our dear Kumoko? Finally, thank you for all your hard work.
Who did that?
I wonder who it could have
Which
been.
fan/translator asked this question? I wonder. Oh, it might have been somebody else. It could have been a translator of the manga, right?
Sure, that's definitely not also me.
Yeah, totally someone different, not the same person.
I bet it was. Oh, I guess we should read the answer to that. Baba-sensei very kindly responded, I'm not planning on going super in-depth with that sort of depiction, but if you're asking whether it is or isn't possible, I think it probably is.
That's yes. That's code for yes.
For one thing, I don't think White and Ariel's relationship can be summed up as a mere friendship. That being said, it's probably not exactly romantic love either. And thank you for your support. I'll work hard to make sure you still think it's fun from now on too. Man, who translated that answer? Awkward.
Well, yeah. So thank you very much, Ivan, Jenny, for helping read off this Q&A. Jenny, thank you very much for translating the questions that we sent to Baba-sensei and Kiryu-sensei and translating their answers.
Of course, it was very fun, and thank you to everyone who sent in these fun questions.
And last but most important thank you of all, thank you very much to Baba-sensei and Kiryu-sensei, of course, for making this amazing series that we're talking about, but also for doing this Q&A. It's very generous, and it's great for us fans here in the English-speaking world to learn more about the two of you. So thank you very much for all of that. And to the fans watching this video right now, please communicate your thanks on the comments. I'm sure Baba-sensei and Kiryu-sensei would love to see it. So until next time, we'll see you all.
Thank you.
Bye.